Kweku, what do you make of the ruling of the National Media Commission Settlement Panel?
Well, I might as well also make some preliminary comments.
Okay.
In line inspired by my brother here, and I'm very happy that you reminded him that the Ministry of Information under the Mills administration petitioned the National Media Commission. But my brother was not bold enough to accept your reminder in its real sense.
I didn't dispute
he didn't object to it.
I didn't object.
Listen carefully. No. He was dribbling himself. It's obvious.
That's most unfair.
I'm sorry. It's redrawn with apologies.
No, I don't need them.
No, I'm sorry, because I don't intend offending you. And if you're offended, please forgive me. It's redrawn. But the truth of the matter is that on November 1st, 2010, the then Minister of Information, John Tia, petitioned the National Media Commission. And Joy FM, you published it here. This is a Joy publication. Okay, it was on the mass rape saga. Yes. And why I was saying that perhaps you were not being forthright was because you premised your submission on basis of the spirit of the Constitution. The NMC is a creature of law of the Constitution. And the options for governments or ministries or anybody to go there is there. So if you were talking of the spirit of the thing, that spirit was still there in 2010. That's the point I'm making. But I think that you didn't agree.
So let me correct myself briefly. The 2012 Daily Guide publication was actually headed Vigilante Group vows to protect ballot box. Protect ballot. And it began by saying, leader of the Vigilante, a group in the New Patriotic Party, Omar Farouk, aka Choman, has described the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, as a pacifist. Choman, a personal bodyguard of Nana Akufo-Addo, said he had been close to the NPP leader for a long time, stating that the presidential candidate frowns on acts that could destabilize the country. So I need this to be also in the context. He made the remarks after members of the Ashanti Regional Branch of the Vigilante marched through the principal streets of Kumasi last Saturday during a float. Formed in 2009, the Vigilante Group is made up of energetic male and female MPP members across the country whose primary target is to protect the MPP against any attacks by lawless people. So this is what I wanted to quote. Thank you.
I'm sure if you asked Mr. Fusampofu whether his proposition or his proposal to set up a ballot box protection unit is a vigilante group, you tell no, that's distinct. The ballot box protection unit, you tell you that's not a vigilante group. You get my drift?
Of course, of course.
Okay.
They have said so.
All of them. So we've dealt with the first preliminary thing. See, the NMC is a creature of law, as I said, and it's in the Constitution. We all fought for that. Their rulings are not circumscribed, as far as I'm concerned. I have cooperated with the National Media Commission over the years. There was a time, I think the chairman, either Kofi Komado or Hayford, praised the New Crusading Guide, then the Crusading Guide, for its cooperation. There were a lot of rulings, some went against us. We were asked to retract and apologize, and we did, based on the situation that happened there. But there was also an instance where I declined the invitation. Indeed, with Mr. Pratt on two different issues. We declined the invitation as a matter of principle. And so the NMC dragged us to court. We were defended by Akoto Ampao. We won that case. The court ruled in our favor that we were not under obligation to accept
and apologize.
Yes. So
I have advised against any attempt to disregard them or not even to go by their rulings and so on. I think that we're building a democracy
I agree.
and we need to
I agree.
respect the institutions, however we disagree with them.
Yes, I agree. But that particular, I just want to put on record that we, without showing disrespect to them, we declined the invitation as a matter of principle. And it's on record. It went to the appropriate forum, which was a court of law, and the court ruled in our favor based on the issues at stake. There's one thing that's worrying me. The I Group, did they sue multimedia?
They did. It looks like they have abandoned it. We don't know.
No.
They haven't taken a next step after that.
Yeah, but is there a case in court?
Yes, they have.
Okay. I don't know the reliefs they are seeking because I haven't seen the paper, but I read somewhere they had sued multimedia.
Yeah, they are saying they have been defamed.
Okay. I wish I knew the items, the elements of their rate. I don't have them. But you see, there's also one thing, and I must be forgiven for going this route. I was wondering whether it was appropriate for us to make this a subject of discussion in the absence of the NMC here. I was wondering.
Participating in the discussion?
Yes, I was wondering.
To explain themselves, you mean?
Yes, here is the minister representing government. I'm not, it would be unfair to say you are representing multimedia.
Oh, but he is. He's advancing their cause and the argument here. Are you not doing that?
Albeit in limited capacity. He's constrained.
That was the point.
He's the prosecutor and the
trying to
judge.
do in a subtle manner.
Yes.
Before he started saying.
He's the prosecutor and the judge. Go ahead. I mean, I think we can all...
I wouldn't go that way.
No, don't worry. We can all deal with it.
He's hosting this program.
He's my friend, so
he's
we can
not
deal with it.
representing multimedia.
But you can raise the NMC on phone if you...
Of course, of
No.
course.
If you think that...
Well, I'm not direct. I'm not out here to direct. I'm making my preliminary points. So I felt a bit uncomfortable, especially because of the banter that went on between the two of you. That's when this came to my mind. Otherwise, I didn't come from home with it. It just occurred here. No, I'll be honest with you.
But frankly, I was trying very calmly to get him to answer.
Yes, it was because of the banter that it occurred to me whether it was
okay.
an appropriate subject matter for us to discuss it within this contest in the absence of one of the parties or two of the parties, if you like. So now, what are the issues? See, I remember when this story broke, we discussed it on this program.
Yes, we did.
And I remember that I made it clear that my perception or definition of militia did not fit the I Group. I said so
you
here,
did, yeah.
and I consistently repeated it elsewhere. It did not fit. And at that time, the Short Commission had done some discussions of this matter and pronounced on it through Venerable Professor Mensah Bonsu. But I still sat here and said I contested even the definition that Madame Mensah Bonsu had given. If you recall, I came with a certain report, Dennis Austin's book, on the CPP-UP paramilitary groups and their conduct and actions and the scale of the violence. And I didn't see any of these groups today fitting into that description. So in my view, I disagreed with the description of those groups as militia, that is the vigilante groups as militia, by the commission, even though the commission has accepted that and it's in the report that has been sent to the president. I have a copy of the executive summary here, and they make a very forceful argument and insist we should describe them as militia. But I disagreed with that. So I see the Media Commission's ruling going at variance with the definition of militia. I side with that. I don't believe that group was a militia. If you play back the same program we had here, I thought it was terrible that that group was given access to a state facility, the castle. It didn't make sense. But due to some political connections, they were allowed in there. And we also made a point that I was aware that the national security had been having running battles with them relative to their presence there. These are facts.
They actually echoed that in the documentary.
Exactly.
That whilst they were there, they suspected national security operatives to come spying on them.
Exactly. So I pointed to what was in the documentary as a basis to reinforce what I had already known. But that part of the documentary was factual. And even if that place is not a security zone, and I agree, it's no longer a security zone in the rare sense of the word, even though they have security checks, and there's even documentation to that effect anyway. So, but the fact that it was a state facility made their presence there completely inappropriate, and I'm being charitable, my choice of words, and indefensible. And you see, so we all agree that that documentary was in the public interest. Again, the Media Commission's ruling appears to reinforce that, and I still stand by that. I have a policy of not doing peer review of fellow journalists, because I myself, I don't think I have the moral standing to go questioning fellow journalists. I've done a lot of mistakes in my practice, so I'm very careful with those things. But generally speaking, I thought that story, that documentary, was a good thing, was a piece of journalism that was good. See, they've raised some things about some extraneous embellishments and things. I'm not sure. In terms of documentary production, those things are allowed. They are allowed.
Okay, so they said he needed to explain. For example, when he put the Nigerian thing, and you just put file photo, that was not enough. He should have explained further.
Well, or even Ayawaso
specifically. But in principle, see, but I'll tell you, the ANAS,
the word they use, they fail to relate.
I'll just use one classic example, Tiger Eye, the cocoa smuggling thing that went to court, and which was determined by the court in favor of Tiger Eye and the state. If you watch that documentary, you will see big trucks with full of cocoa going to the harbor, coming out, and all those things. Really, he was in the bush, monitoring smuggling left, right, center. So that part of the documentary was not part of the thing. It was brought in to show people that, look, cocoa we export. If people smuggle, we lose revenue. Now, in exporting cocoa, this is how it's done. Yes, it's true. The judge asked for both the documentary and the raw footage. And in making his judgment, told the court that, look here, I'm excluding the documentary because of these elements. And I'm proceeding on basis of the raw footage to make a judgment. And this is what happened. I can understand where the National Media Commission was coming from, but I don't think they are a court of law.
No, they are not. They've admitted it clearly.
Yes, so my difficulty is to suggest that that is unethical. Relative to documentary production, I will find it difficult if that is classified as unethical. That's my
I would explain
view.
when I have an opportunity.
You can, but that's my view. Okay. So perhaps it's a matter of, is there a deficit? This is a very serious statement I was going to make. Deficit on the part of the members of the panel relative to what goes into documentary production? It's just a question. I'm not making a judgment.
But what do you say? The issue you brought up about what you had said earlier about they perhaps not fitting the description of vigilante, militia. The two words were actually discussed at length. Sometimes tempests flaring at the commission, at the panel hearing. So the chairman, or let me now say the commission, some of the members were
the panel, the settlement complaints.
Yeah, the settlement panel. Some of them were clearly of the view, particularly two of them. They were clearly of the view that you shouldn't be using militia. And Manasseh insisted that I will use militia for the rest of my life for any group that is a vigilante. And that's actually Joy's policy after we heard from the commission.
I understand.
And they insisted that, no, but you can't do that. So the question now is, from where you also sit, you will not want to call them militia. Would you want to call them vigilante? from what you know about them?
You see, I think it would be safer to say they are a pro-government group. If you add Vigilante, I have not seen them, and I was coming to that, I have not seen them in terms of their conduct and actions. And I'm being honest with you. I have not seen them behave like the Delta Force elements, the invisible force elements.
In fact, they speak against it.
I haven't seen them, and that's why I was taking them out of the context of vigilantes. But they are obviously a pro-government group. Otherwise, they won't get access to the castle.
Okay.
This is a group affiliated to government. Let's be factual about that.
That's one there's no question about.
But you see, because of these things, and you just brought it back, I'm thankful you did. When you were having the banter with Kojo, something struck me, and I have some such records. The records of proceedings of the NMC.
Great.
Would be so useful.
Great.
To interrogate, to deal with this matter.
Okay.
Unfortunately, as I sit here, I don't have them.
Okay.
But I'm clear in my mind that the NMC has done its side. I would wish we all move on, learn lessons from these things. Nothing stops anybody from contesting the quality of their findings. That's how it's part of the democratic exercise.
Okay. All right. But it also has to be put on record that a leader of the invisible forces describes this group as one of the groups within the NPP's whatever, and a video evidence of that admission was tendered at the NMC.
Can I say something?
I don't have a problem with that. That's why I'm asking for the records of proceedings.
Video evidence was
will
tendered.
help us.
Two quick things just before he comes in. For example, you know the TV3 video
Yeah, there's something
of the interview of their. You see, I didn't want to go into the details.
That's not the one I'm referring to.
No, that's the one I'm referring to.
Okay.
The TV3
that's
video,
different.
where the I group themselves grant an interview and say that they have over 5,000 members across the country. Watch the raw full video. They start off by condemning these groups like the Invisible Forces, who you are saying have admitted that these are some of us, and therefore you use that as a basis to say that you are qualified.
And this evidence too was not contested.
And what was the date? What is the date
Relax. Let me make my point.
that video?
The TV3 video. Oh, it was
No,
way
not the TV3. The one.
I wouldn't know his date.
That was after the publication.
Oh, okay.
So he is relying on this so-called claim by this Invisible Forces person who says that the I group is part of one of their groups. And I'm saying that there's a TV3 video.
I'm looking for his exact quotation. I'll share it with you.
Which they put in their documentary, in which the I group disavows all of these violent groups all over the place and proceeds to say that that is not the way to go. You should rather organize your people, give them training so that they can find jobs, etc., etc. And that for them, they have about 5,000 members across the country who they have put together and are training so that they can find jobs, etc., etc. In their editorial discretion, they edited out all the parts where these people disavow violence, etc., etc., and come and pick up where he says that we have 5,000 members across the country.
We submit.
No, you mean they edited?
Edit out.
Yes.
You are doing a documentary.
Yes.
If you are doing a documentary, you use what you want to use.
Exactly my point. And that is why we say that we find a breach of the ethics. Because if you want to portray the thing for what it is, okay, why don't you let the man disavow the violence, proceed to put the context in which he talks about his 5,000 members across the country and what he seeks to do with them. But you, like in your own words, edit all of that out and say that you have the view that they have a predisposition to violence.
Not a view.
There are
You have the
5,000
evidence. You have the evidence, not just a view.
And the evidence of their predisposition to violence is what?
Evidence. And
Is
this
what?
evidence is not controverted.
Is what?
I
What
just
is that
mentioned
evidence?
one to you, what they did at Avian's Cargo Village.
Oh, please.
I just mentioned that.
Was there evidence of that before the commission?
Okay.
It was contested.
No, it was not contested.
Oh,
Let me tell you
please.
this. Let me tell you.
You
It was
can
not
call
contested.
Godfred Dami.
No, you are not there. It was not contested.
Okay,
listen,
so call Godfred Dami, who was a lawyer.
Listen. This is what happened.
Call Godfred Dami.
When that came up,
It was contested.
Conversations, private, confidential conversations
Edit out all of those
between
ones and you
persons
can
in
make
the
this argument.
national security and Manasseh were disclosed to the commission members, because you can't put that in the response. So in the response, he hinted them that I have some conversations with what national security's own difficulty with dealing with the group, and
That is not
I
a
will
mistake
show
that
it to
national security
you
had
on a private basis. So he showed them these conversations, and that particular story was never controverted. Nobody raised one controversy.
I said,
no, it was not.
Or check the record.
It was not. It was not.
Proceedings. But my point is
I'm telling you, it was not. You were not there. It was
not. I'm saying I called the lawyer. If you say I was
okay.
going to call the lawyer.
All right.
My point is this. If you edit all of those ones out and you pick the part that says that 5,000 members across the country, and then you proceed to slap on it your narrative that therefore they have a disposition to violence, such a big group, 5,000 across the country. What you are doing and the pieces you are putting together. The NMC, for example, says that when you go to the DJA ethics, and I'm speaking in reference to your issue, guideline 23 says that when you are putting materials together, for example, they pick pieces from Ayawaso.
Okay, it's Randy's turn. I want you to be quick with that.
Let me yeah. They pick pieces from
Ayawaso for the introduction, background.
Clearly violent conduct.
Yes, background.
And set a certain context, okay? And play this group up within this context. This is your claim of other pieces of evidence that you have that give you a predisposition to violence. In fact, the terms of reference are that you put it in the material because it is that documentary that is being contested.
You mean to avoid a surprise element?
Not necessarily that.
No, so
you don't get to go and bring some extra
submit
materials.
the documentary and you submit raw footage.
Yeah.
And that's what was done to the commission.
No, nobody has said that you don't submit the raw footage. This
because you can't do a documentary for 2 hours.
No. That's not what we've said.
That's true.
That's not what we've said.
Okay.
If you have raw footage and you are editing the footage, that is different.
Okay.
If you say that you have some other piece of evidence that galvanizes your view, you put it in the documentary.
Okay, thank you.